Welcome to Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. The Hopi tribe is hoping a $5 billion proposed settlement from the federal government will be the start of a new direction for persistent water quantity and quality hurdles on its northern Arizona reservation. The settlement has to get through Congress first, and we'll hear about efforts to improve literacy rates among young Hopi children. We are live on Hopi Land this hour. Our discussion starts right after the news.
This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. President Trump swore in Markwayne Mullin as U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security at the White House on Tuesday. The president talked about Mullin serving in the House and Senate, mentioning that Mullin's Native American and has worked on tribal issues. Here are some of Trump's remarks from C-SPAN.
Markwayne has also been a fantastic advocate for our cherished tribal communities. He's now the first member of the Cherokee Nation ever to serve as a member of the cabinet. I didn't know all these things. I would have picked him faster if I had known. I would have made a quicker decision.
Here's Mullin.
I made this very clear that I don't care what color your state is. I don't care if you're red or you're blue. At the end of the day, my job is to be Secretary of Homeland and to protect everybody the same. And we will do that. I'll fight every single day.
After Mullin's confirmation this week, Cherokee Nation Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. congratulated him and wished him success in his new role. The predominantly indigenous community of Kaktovik in northern Alaska hosted a regional basketball tournament last month in a new gym that was finally rebuilt years after the old one burned down. The Alaska Desk's Ayolna Neidem reports, for at least one family, the new gym's significance was bigger than basketball.
The Kaktovik High School girls basketball team is playing against Point Lay. It's the 1A North Slope Regional Championship, and the Kaktovik Lady Rams are down by a couple of points. Senior Maya Aishana hears her mom yelling.
That did something to me. That snap. I have 5 minutes left. I can do this.
The Kaktovik Lady Rams did not win the game, but Aishana says the moment was still special. The community's gym and school burned down 6 years ago. The new gym was finally finished in December. The tournament was the first big event the community held there.
Our crowd, just hearing them cheer for us, made me so happy.
Aishana says not having a place to play sports for so long, the students often practiced outside.
It was kind of difficult because polar bears and the wind and the coldness, but also all our players were kind of rusty shooting because we had nowhere to shoot.
Several students left the school. Maya Aishana's brother was one student. Maya's mother is Stephanie Aishana.
He missed the gym so much.
She says the family lost a hunter to help during the subsistence season. Stephanie Aishana says the community used the facility for funerals, Thanksgiving feasts, and other gatherings.
It was the heartbeat of our community, and we totally lost that.
Maya Aishana was a part of the group of students who advocated for the construction of the new gym. They wrote letters to municipal leadership and held a silent protest.
We just had to act because us students had to have somewhere to play.
Now that they have the new facility, Aishana says she already feels the difference. The weekend tournament also proved that the new facility is more than a place to practice and play. More than 100 people also took refuge there during a major storm over the same weekend. Now that the basketball tournament is over, adults and students regularly go there to play and exercise. And in a few months, Maya Aishana's class will be the first to graduate in the new facility. Her mom says she will make sure that her son will attend his sister's ceremony as well. With reporting from Kaktovik, I am Alona Neidem.
The Indian Nations Gaming and Governance Program at the William S. Boyd School of Law at UNLV and the Tribal Leadership Council announced Tuesday the establishment of the Tribal Leadership Council Endowment. According to the council, it's the first endowed scholarship established by a Native American nonprofit organization in the law school's history. The scholarship will be awarded to tribal citizens of federally recognized tribes pursuing a JD degree at the school and in the program. The first scholarship will be awarded when the endowment is fully matured. I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Kawanak Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Support by the Gathering of Nations Powwow. The last dance is this April 24th and 25th at Expo, New Mexico. The Gathering of Nations Traders Market will be in the Creative Arts and Lujan buildings both days. Tickets available at gatheringofnations.com and at the gates. Attention tribal community leaders. The 2026 Tribal Self-Governance Conference takes place this April 7th at the Gila River Wild Horse Pass Resort and Casino in Chandler, Arizona. Full draft agenda and registration at tribalselfgov.org who support this show.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.
This is Native America Calling. I'm Sean Spruce. We are coming to you live today from the studios of KUYI Hopi Radio on the Hopi Nation in northeastern Arizona today. A $5.1 billion settlement is awaiting approval in Congress right now. Here on the Hopi Nation, that money would go to settling long-standing claims to the Colorado River and could help build up water infrastructure for the tribe. The tribe has had to contend with scarcity and contamination with drinking water. The money would provide Hopis and other northern Arizona tribes with long-term solutions. We're talking about that this hour. Also, a community member from the Hopi tribe has made it her mission to improve literacy rates on the reservation. And there's an event to help do that this weekend. And later in the hour, we'll get an update from some of the crew here at KUYI Hopi Radio. And of course, listeners can join the conversation today. If you're a listener to KUYI Hopi Radio, just call us at 1-800-996-2848. That number again, 1-800-996-2848 and 1-800-99-NATIVE. That works just as well. Joining me today in the KUYI Hopi radio station is Dr. Carrie Nuva Joseph. She is the director of the Department of Natural Resources for the Hopi tribe, and of course, she is Hopi. Carrie, you've been on the show before. Welcome back to Native America Calling. How you doing?
Hi, good morning. I'm well. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. Well, this $5 billion water rights settlement that's moving through Congress for the Hopi tribe and other northeastern Arizona tribes, it includes funds to build and maintain water projects. What specifically does this settlement mean for the Hopi Nation?
Well, I think the settlement, as a bystander and observer of some of the conversations that have taken place at the Hopi Tribal Council level, and our general counsel, it's a big step forward to securing especially some financial resources for infrastructure. So right now, I believe that the tribe is still in conversations with the Congress to get the money appropriated for this water infrastructure to go along with our water rights settlement. And so I really don't know if it's a question about whether or not how much is allocated to this. It's whether or not right now that Congress is able to provide that funding. I think that's one of the big questions that is left in the air. And is dangling in the air above us because, there's a question whether or not the Senate committee hearing, which just took place about a week ago, where our chairman of the Hopi tribe, along with the president of the Navajo Nation and then the Southern Paiute Nation leadership did present before the Senate committee. But the conversations that took place up there really gave me an understanding that, the allocation of resources to provide these the funding mechanism to drive this water infrastructure is really up in the air. They've had those discussions about where they could seek those resources to fulfill the trust responsibility of these water rights, which are very much overdue, very long overdue. So I think right now it's a question of whether or not the Senate committee and Congress is able to allocate that $5 billion.
All right. Now, Carrie, Hopis have had to contend with water scarcity and contamination issues for years, really. Can you tell me more about some of the specific problems that Hopi people have had to endure as a result of these water issues?
Yeah, and so I think one of the ones that many of our community members are very aware about, especially here in the eastern region of Hopi, is our arsenic contamination problem. Our challenges there with higher than normal levels, up to 2 to 3 levels higher for arsenic in our drinking water resources. And so, thankfully, with the arsenic mitigation project, some of those things have been tackled where, just drilling another well that is not contaminated is now providing water to those areas that were hit with arsenic, high levels of arsenic. But right now, with that pipeline, new pipeline, which is the arsenic mitigation project, we're now facing some barriers with the finances that are required by our village members to pay for water, and I think that is still an ongoing conversation with our public utility and villages to ensure that those rates are within a means that our villages can pay, but also is able to sustain the operations of the utility to maintain. So it's just like a fine balance, and going forward, it's still an ongoing conversation that hasn't been fully resolved, but villages have signed on to that pipeline.
Okay, and going back to the legislation, this settlement was actually announced some time ago. Is there something holding it up?
I believe there's still negotiations among the basin states right now. They're not very much in full cooperation with, for specific example, regarding our water rights settlement, which is the northeastern water rights settlement. There is, still conversation with the upper basin states about allocating some of those resources to our tribes to use. And so those ongoing discussions are not completely finished. And so, yeah, if you were to look into the water settlement, part of that agreement requires that upper basin is to allocate a certain amount of water to us, the lower basin. We would be considered the lower basin. And so, yes, and so that's holding that up, as well as those congressional conversations that took place around funding to supply the water rights settlement. Because if we don't have funding, it's typically just going to be a paper rate, and I don't think that's something we should settle for, is just a paper water right.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're also engaged in cleaning up a waste site that was created actually without any consultation with the Hopi tribe. Give me some background on that project.
Yeah, so that's another longstanding project that was that took a lot of effort and work from our village community, but support from our tribal council. And so one of the things that this is occurring on the western portion of the Hopi reservation in the Munkapi villages there. We had a huge dump site, and it's no small dump site like we have like illegal dumps here and there. We find them on reservation territory sometimes, but this one is a massive dump site that was started in probably about the 1940s, so over 55 years. So it was a dump site that was opened on BIA land before the settlement between Navajo and Hopi was solidified, because later it was resolved. It initially started as being started on the Navajo reservation. And fast forward, it was still operating. Fast forward to the 90s, after our settlement took place, 90% of this huge landfill was on the Hopi reservation. And so with this history of dumping, we've inherited issues, groundwater contamination issues in the region. We have high levels of arsenic. We have high levels of nitrate and lead, and uranium detected in the groundwater above maximum contaminant levels. And so it's been like that for quite some time. They finally closed the dump site because it was unregulated for all of those years in the 90s. And so in the 90s, they closed the dump site. BIA allocated funding to the tribe to just continue to monitor the site. And thankfully, things have really advanced to what the villages have advocated for so long, to remove the waste and take it off Hopi reservation land. And so that's what we are doing through the Department of Natural Resources. We have secured a 638 contract with the Bureau of Indian Affairs to completely remove the waste. And so it's a big win for our village community, but also the tribe, because this is what they have been advocating for so long. It required a lot of input from different people. It was a big effort. It's much better than what they were considering probably just 7 years ago, when they were considering removing the waste and putting it at another location on Hopi reservation territory. And so I'm glad to say that waste will be hauled off. Hopi construction has started at the site. So if you're in the western region of Hopi, you'll see active construction taking place at the site where they're getting ready to mobilize their equipment, start to build out the roads, the staging pads, everything that's going to be required for removing that waste.
All right, wonderful. I'm going to be here for a couple of days. I'm thinking maybe I'll come out and take a look. Am I welcome?
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back and continue our live broadcast here from KUYI Hopi Radio. We are on lands of the Hopi tribe here in northeastern Arizona, and it is a pleasure to be here in the KUYI Hopi radio station, collaborating with the community and also the staff here at the station. And we're going to take this short break. We'll come back. We'll continue the conversation. And phone lines are open for any listeners who would like to join us. Maybe someone listening right now on KUYI here in Hopi Land. The number is 1-800-996-2848. Once again, 1-800-996-2848. We'll hear about two accounts of overcoming the odds. Unsettling Territory tracks the political and economic rise of the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin. And Sons of Gunshooters, a story of Dene resistance against oppression in the early 1900s. We'll talk about both of these nonfiction accounts on our next Native Bookshelf on Native America Calling.
Attention tribal community leaders. The 2026 Tribal Self-Governance Conference takes place this April 7th to the 9th at the Gila River Wild Horse Pass Resort and Casino in Chandler, Arizona. Tribal delegation meetings using AI, Indian Health 101, land stewardship, tribal values-based communications training, understanding the tribal federal relationship, and more, all at one convening. The full draft agenda and registration are available at tribalselfgov.org, who support this show.
Thank you for tuning in today to Native America Calling. I'm your host, Sean Spruce, and I am live today on the Hopi Nation. We're learning about protecting natural resources, specifically water here in arid northern Arizona. If you have a comment or a question for today's show, give us a call. We're at 1-800-996-2848. We have Dr. Carrie Nuva-Joseph in the studio with us today. She is the director of the Department of Natural Resources for the Hopi tribe. And Carrie, one topic we haven't had a chance to talk about yet is the tribe is close to reestablishing a tribal EPA office. Tell me more about what that will accomplish and what have been the issues with not having one previously.
Yeah, so that is a huge deal for Hopi because it allows us to enforce water. We've talked a lot about water quality standards of the Clean Water Act. And so anybody out there who is listening, we're reestablishing that Hopi Environmental Protection Office, and we'll be announcing the position for the program manager soon, who will be the one to start to rebuild the program. We lost the program, not quite sure, maybe 7 years ago before I came on, and thankfully with taking care of some outstanding matters, we were able to find some more grant funding and get it reestablished. And so that will allow us to start to enforce not only some water quality standards based on our Hopi Tribal Code. It'll help to just ensure protection of our resources, our natural resources, and we need that. And so, that's something we're all looking forward to. We have a lot of codes that we need to update, and this individual will be a big game player in helping us to do that.
Carrie, tell me more about what your work looks like going into the future. And what about some of these proposed rollbacks to the Clean Water Act? Do you have concerns that will create hurdles for the work that you and others do?
Well, the Clean Water Act was established early in the 1970s through the EPA. The EPA was actually established at that time because of a lot of unregulated dumping into waterways. I don't know if many of you are familiar out there, but Rachel Carson, Silent Springs, really drove that effort to create the EPA, which is a protection office to protect our resources, natural resources. And so, when you hear about going backwards, we're trying to undo what was the reason why we established it, because there was so much contamination in the Ohio River, fires, a lot of air quality issues in Los Angeles, smog. That was why the EPA was established, to prevent any type of contamination, which then could trickle down to human health and the environment and everything within it. And so, rolling back some of those acts is definitely going to impact which was the driving force for starting it in the first place. And so, the good thing is that the tribe here on tribal territory, on tribal land, we will look into still asserting our sovereignty to continue those protections. But outside of tribal territories on ancestral lands, we just need to be very mindful about how that's going to impact some of those conversations that we're having on our ancestral lands.
Carrie, thank you so much for coming into the studio, taking time out of your busy day. I know you've got a full schedule ahead of you, so appreciate it very much. And keep in touch, keep us dialed in to how these issues, and especially with regard to the settlement and just how you folks move forward.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we've got another guest here in the studio who joins us now, Deborah Baker. She is the parent liaison for Hopi Day School, and she is, of course, Hopi as well. And she's getting situated right now. And the phone lines are still open for anyone who'd like to give us a call, 1-800-99-NATIVE. You can join this conversation. And here we have Deborah Baker. Deborah, hello, and welcome to Native America Calling. It's great to have you on the show today and coming into the studio as well.
Yeah, well, good morning, and good morning, KUYI listeners. I always call them our beautiful KUYI listeners.
Well, you had a busy morning. You've been running around. You were just at Tribal Council just a few minutes ago, getting squared away, racing over here to the studio. So thanks again for making time to be here, and especially just to talk about the important issue of literacy, specifically for young people here on Hopi lands. Now, you've been a social worker for more than 20 years. You had a long career there, but in the past 5 years, you've been really focused on improving Hopi children's literacy rates. Tell me more about what prompted you to take on this task, and how's it going?
Well, again, I'm a social worker by profession, and so primary work is working with families and students who are having challenges in schools. And usually what that means is sometimes children are having challenges because of maybe a learning disability or some kind of difficulty they're having academically. And so where I am currently, Hopi Day School, is the third school on Hopi where I have been employed. And one day I just sat back and said, I remember being at the first school and hearing teachers talk about the issue of literacy with students and how some of our students were reading below their grade level. The second school I worked at, the same issue came up. And where I'm currently working, that also became a concern. And so I thought, wow, this is the third place where this is happening. So we just got to do something about it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have to do something to help our children succeed. And so this all came about during the pandemic. We had all kinds of time to think and be creative and daydream about a whole slew of things. And this was one of the items in my brain that I was thinking about. And so I got to thinking, how can we do this? How can I'm not a teacher. I don't have that academic background. So how do I do this? So this is how it came about. And we started at our school, at Hopi Day School, because at that time we were still conducting classes through Zoom. I think everybody almost in the entire country was doing that. So we were all trying to get accustomed to the new system of utilizing internet and various means to teach school. So this is how it got started, was using Zoom to start a little book club, a little reading time. So in addition to their academics they were doing, that was hard on a lot of children. It was really hard on a lot of children to go to school through the internet, through a device. And so, let's give them something happy and fun and to look forward to at least sometime during their day. And this is how it got started, is let's just maybe have a reading time. And that was the start. It wasn't called the book club at that point yet.
Well, you mentioned, not being a classroom teacher, but you did grow up in a household that encouraged reading and also to critically engage with the material that you were reading. How do you draw from that experience to help the children to learn to read more and more precisely?
Yeah, I came from a family of very progressive people. I spent a lot of time with my paternal grandparents, and the underlying message was always to do your best and learn as much as you can, because times are changing, and we meaning Native people in general, we have to learn the skills of Western society in order for us to be successful in our Native communities. I was just a small child, so they weren't talking to me like that. But that was the basic message. And so we were always looking at magazines, looking at books. And this was back in the late 1960s, the mid to late 1960s into the early 1970s. So we didn't have things like internet, or we didn't have Google and, search engines and things like that. No. So if we wanted to be entertained, we either had to figure out how to entertain ourselves or you read.
You know what's interesting, Deborah? So I was at council with you earlier presenting the book festival and some of the students who are participants. And I heard one of the tribal council members comment, and he said, I have sons and it's really hard to get them to read. And I thought about that for me because I just have a daughter. And so I hadn't realized, what it's like to teach a son to read. But he said, it's tough. They don't necessarily want to read. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts in terms of how do parents inspire their children to read, and what are some tips and best practices and strategies to just encourage more reading in the household?
Well, it's never too late to start, and it doesn't matter the age of your child. Just start reading. Start creating a pattern of reading in your household. But going back to your statement about what the vice chairman said about his sons, I raised two sons. They're out on their own now, But I always made a point to have reading time in my home. And so every day or every other day at least, we were reading. And, you know, children, when they get exposed to books, it just becomes a part of their way of life. And that's what we would like families to do, is just like every day we're going to brush our teeth, or every day we're going to sit down at the table and have a meal. That's just part of everyday routine that we have in our households. Well, part of that routine should be reading. And it doesn't have to take a long time. It can take 5 minutes, 10 minutes of either you as the adult in the home reading to the child or having the child read to you, depending upon their level or their age or maybe their familiarity with the story, with the book. My oldest son, who's about to become a father in about a few months, when he was little, his favorite books were the Berenstain Bears. And the Berenstain Bears had a whole slew of series of books, and they cover a whole number of topics. And so I think he liked the books because it was always another adventure every book. And so we used to have a whole collection of Berenstain Bears books. So you can bet that as a new grandparent, that's one of the things I'm going to be doing and dedicating my time to. My younger son, he got stuck on one book. It was his favorite book. And we just had a conversation about this because the title of his book was Big Bad Bunny. And Big Bad Bunny is this outlaw that comes around to his animal friends and tries to, you know, demand things from them. And so we were just talking about the title of the book, about all this controversy about another individual named Bad Bunny in more, you know, not too long ago. And so we were just kind of laughing about it. I said, wow, didn't know that you were with the times way back then with his favorite book. But, you know, when you engage a child into reading, you can make it as lively as you want, or you can make it as boring as you want. Choose the lively, because what we want to do is we want to have children get excited about reading. We want them to have fun. We want them to go on an adventure when they read. Because it's not just hearing the words, it's hearing the story. It's looking at the illustrations. It's you as the adult who's with that child, asking them questions, asking them to project. Oh, before we turn the next page, what do you think's going to happen? You know, and then reading the page and talking about whether, okay, were we on target or were we way off? Or if we could rewrite the ending, how would we rewrite it? So, you know, those kinds of open-ended questions will help children develop their creativity. It's also going to help them develop their verbal skills, because now they're telling you in words. And that seems to be a hard thing. So the vice chairman was not too far off base. That seems to be more of a challenge for young boys than it is for girls.
That's really interesting. I love these stories that you have, too, with regard to your own sons and raising them to be readers. And you mentioned the importance of lively reading and encouraging people to really get involved in these stories. And that makes me think of the radio show that you have. And it airs monthly right here on KUYI Radio. And you've had some famous people come in and read books for the community. Billy Mills, tribal leaders. And then they talk about the books and they discuss them. So tell me a little bit more about it. I mean, all these different projects that you have going on to promote literacy, and you've also got this big book festival coming up later today.
Yes, so we've come a long way from our very first book reading. I think that was 2021, because we were just coming off the pandemic, as I mentioned. And, you know, as I learned a little bit more about it, it became a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more enhanced. And so over time, this is where we are now. And so thank goodness for the support of KUYI Radio. I approached them about 5 years ago and said, hey, I have this idea for this book club. We're doing it already at our school. Would you be interested? We have people read children's books and we discuss the books. And without hesitation, I believe you're going to have him on the show later. Darian, without hesitation, said, yes, let's do this. And so thanks to him, we're now in our 5th year of partnering with KUYI Radio. And some of that evolution of the book club has been understanding and realizing the impact having these community readers be a part of the book club. Because, they don't want to hear me every single show, and people have things to offer. The readers, they have a book that they choose to share when they become a reader. They also share a little bit about themselves every time we have a reader. When they read the stories, some of them go into character. One of our current teachers at Hopi Day School, he has a theater background, and he read the book Tiki Tiki Tambo. And oh my goodness, talk about a lively show. He went into character. And what was really funny was, I think it was maybe 2 months later, we had a student reader. And I forget the title of the book, but the book was about this big bull who wants to go shopping in a china shop. And he was a student. Teacher helped him. To my surprise, not knowing this, student comes on with character voices for all the characters in the book. It was so much fun.
That sounds like such a great time. We have to take another break. We'll come back. And I know, Deborah, you're going to be at the book festival later, so really appreciate you stopping by the studio. We'll be right back, listeners. Stay with us.
Support by the Gathering of Nations Powwow. The last dance is this April 24th and 25th at Expo, New Mexico. The Gathering of Nations Traders Market will be in the Creative Arts and Lujan buildings both days. Tickets available at gatheringofnations.com and at the gates.
Need help identifying community priorities? Kaufman & Associates' approach to evaluation is rooted in indigenous knowledge, honoring tribal history, and sovereignty. More at kaufmaninc.com, KAUFFMANINC.com.
We're glad you're with us today on Native America Calling. I'm your host, Sean Spruce, and we're live today on the Hopi Nation. We're checking in with some of the initiatives the Hopi people are involved in to protect their land, water, and culture. If you would like to contribute to this conversation, join us. The number is 1-800-996-2848, especially Hopi radio listeners out there. You can call us right now. Join this conversation, 1-800-99-NATIVE. I'm going to continue now with our current guest, Deborah Baker, parent liaison for Hopi Day School. And Deborah, we had a chance to just briefly mention the book festival coming up later today, but give us some more details and just what all goes into planning this event, because it's annual.
Yeah, it's been an annual event for about 4 years now, and what the book festival is an extension of our monthly book club. So up until this point, people only hear the readers on the radio. And so what we decided is let's give them an opportunity to meet the readers. So we developed the book festival. And this is where we invite all past readers to come and share time, and they highlight the book that they shared when they were a reader. They have activities. They do readings. They bring extra books. We do drawings. And so it's just a really fun night of literacy. So we'd like to, and that is this evening starting at 2 o'clock until 8 o'clock p.m. at Hopi Day School Gymnasium. And so, yeah, but you did mention about having some special people be a part of our book festival. Last year we did have Billy Mills, and this year we have Mr. Spruce here, who is our celebrity reader. He may not want to admit that, but he's our celebrity reader today. And so if you, all the listeners out there, especially those of you on Hopi, if you want to have a chance to meet Sean Spruce, come to the book festival. He'll be out there. You can take some time to visit with him. And he brought a wonderful book that he shared during his time as a reader. And they're all very special, fun, different types of books. So come join us, and we will be located at Hopi Day School.
I'm really excited. I can't wait. We're going to have some lunch and then head over for the book festival. Deborah, just one more question before we bring in some staff members. What kind of feedback are you getting in the community for the book festival and just all the other events? And are people embracing this passion of yours and this motivation to really inspire more literacy and more reading here throughout the nation?
I like to believe they are. It took some time for us I think our listeners to understand that this was a regular program of KUYI. And once they did, I have people stopping me in the community and say, hey, I missed last month's recording. I missed last month's show. What was the book about? And so they're stopping me and asking me for that information. And I know every now and then KUYI gets calls on it. We get calls at the school about the various books that were featured, or sometimes some of the readers that we have featured during the monthly book clubs. But some of the feedback we're getting is they really, really love when the children are readers. So when we have student readers, they love joining in. When there are books that are related to us as Native people, indigenous stories, they are really tuned into that. We had our tribal chairman last year who did a Hopi story called The Warrior Mouse Goes to War. And he read the book both in the Hopi language and translated in Hopi. And we had a really high number of people tuning in. But I've also discovered in my discussion with KUYI staff that KUYI is broadcast way out there. And, people are tuning in from all over the country, even in other countries. And so we're learning that people are tuning in to the book club from all these different places. So it's nice to know that we have a wide reach.
Deborah, thank you again. I can't wait to spend the rest of the day with you and the students and everyone else at the book festival. And we're going to bring in some new guests to the conversation now, and we're getting them situated right now. We have a couple of staffers, and the phone number is 1-800-99-NATIVE for anyone who would like to join this conversation. If you have some thoughts or some comments, or maybe you're just a fan of KUYI Hopi Radio and you would like to talk about what the station means to you, you can do that. And I want to bring in our next guest. This is Darian Kutswatiwa. He is the operations coordinator for KUYI Hopi Radio, and he is, of course, a Hopi citizen as well. Darian, we know each other well, but I've never had a chance to talk to you on the radio before. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Always busy as usual here, making sure we get entertainment, safety, education to everyone here out on Hopi. So having fun here at the radio station.
Well, as we just heard from Deborah Baker, this station has such a big impact in the community. And when I was driving into Hopi yesterday evening, as soon as I was able to pick up KUYI, I had it tuned in, and just listening to the different types of music and the different hosts you have, a lot of language components as well. But tell me more. I mean, it's been 25 years since KUYI has been on that radio and been on the air. And tell me more about just what does this station mean to the community, and why has it been so successful? How has it been so successful over nearly a quarter of a century?
Well, I would say for the short time I've been here, the radio station started when I was in high school. And since then, I believe it's just been, community driven of what the people wanted. They wanted some entertainment, something that connects them to culture. So, in hence we play Hopi music, not only from here, but, we have neighbors, in-laws from different pueblos, different types of tribes. So in a sense, we share that connection with everyone. And even with our people going off to school, going overseas, over around the world, we stream worldwide. So in a sense, it brings a little bit of home to them. So I'm thinking that's why it's a big success. And just overall, people that have never heard our kind of content before, our music, it gives them a glimpse into our culture. But it also creates transparency for our people, having different programs come in and speak on their programs, what they do, what they provide. Glad we have partnerships with the Hopi Healthcare Center, with the Hopi Wellness Center, and they give us advice. So in a sense, we're doing that education for the people, providing them more insight on, anything from COVID vaccines to managing your diabetes, So I thinking that's why it's such a success, is that it's something different than mainstream radio. It brings a lot more culture and education to everyone.
Being here today really reminds me of the importance of public radio and what a lifeline this is for communities, and how much information public radio, tribal radio in this case, is able to present, and just the stories and the individuals, and just to promote the community, the culture in so many different ways. And you mentioned, Darian, earlier that you haven't been here at the radio station for that long, and you have an interesting background. You've been a Harley-Davidson motorcycle mechanic, and you play in a local rock band. What drew you to work here and take on this current task?
It's a funny question how I have to mention, describe that to anyone that says that. It's actually I want to say by accident, but previously I did put in an application to the Hopi Foundation because I had a high interest of working here at the station. I mean, with having my musician background, I mean, who wouldn't want a job where you can listen to music all day, right? And be out there and just enjoy music as itself. I mean, music is life, compared to water. I mean, without it, I'm pretty sure, life would be hard. But yeah, just coming from a motorcycle mechanic, I went to school for motorcycle mechanics. Coming back out here to the res, there's no Harley dealership out here. There's hardly anyone riding motorcycles, even though it's such an open, beautiful land to ride on. Sadly, there's no motorcycles. So in a not really a sad sense, but there's kind of not much employment out here. And luckily, maybe it was fate that I got the call and got interviewed twice for 2 positions here at the radio station. And they're like, you're good for both of them. Which one do you want? So with my knowledge of connecting chords into guitar amps and studio mixers, why not go for operations and still continue that technical knowledge for the radio station?
You're a perfect fit for this job here, Darian. Quickly, before we bring our next guest into the conversation, tell me more about some of the events you have coming up. I know you folks are going to be broadcasting live from the book festival later.
That is correct. Again, if no one knew about it, there is the Hopi Day School Book Fest happening today. And coming up, we have our campaign for Arizona Gives Day, and I believe that is April 7th. So coming up soon, but early giving has begun. It's just a matter of reaching out to the Hopi Foundation and clicking that donate tab, also on our website. But hopefully we can get some more donations to help keep our little station with a big heart running. What else do we have coming up? We have some more remote events coming up soon. So I would just tell everyone just to stay tuned to our Facebook page and keep tuning in to KUYI.
All right. Thank you, Darian. And I want to bring another guest into our conversation. Now, she is also a staffer here at KUYI Hopi Radio. Joining me is Nikki Kumaintiwa. She is the program coordinator at KUYI Hopi Radio. And of course, she is Hopi. And Nikki, I want to welcome you to the show. And maybe you want to pronounce your name as well, because I think I didn't do such a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Sean Spruce, and I'm glad to be here. I can finally say I made it to Native America Calling. My name is Nikki Kumaintiwa, and I am from the village of Masangnavi and of the Pumpkin Clan. So thank you for having both of us on here on the show today.
Well, Nikki, tell me more about the work that KUYI does to provide for your community here on Second Mesa and also the rest of the Hopi Nation. What does the station mean to you?
It's a lifeline. That's what it means to me. Just like as Darian said, it started when he was in high school, but it started when I was just a youngster in 2000. And, since then, I always tell this story that when the first when KUYI first went live on air, I remember that moment. It was a sense of pride, finally our KUYI, we have a radio here for Hopi, and that's just what it meant. It's a lifeline, like I said, and, it brings a lot of community events, community togetherness, and it started out as that vision of community-rooted radio. And so that's kind of where it, sprouted from. Like I said, it began broadcasting on December 20th, 2000. And from there, it just kicked off, a lot of support from the community. And we do our best to provide education, entertainment, and safety. That is our 3 pillars of Hopi Radio.
What about the language programs? I know that's a big part of the work you do.
Yeah, the language program. We recently got a grant from the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. And through that funding, we were able to provide Hopi elder wisdom, time of the day. So it describes the morning, the afternoon, and the evening, and what we could be doing during those times. So say for the afternoon, it's time to eat lunch. Go feed nourish yourself and come back, and we're going to finish the day out, strong, and into the evenings to go into our families, and have that family togetherness. So a lot of it speaks to that. We also have our Hopi Word of the Day, which teaches not just our youth, but everybody who is still, trying to learn the language and trying to preserve that language. Just one word a day, can help increase our knowledge of our Hopi language.
What was the Hopi word for today?
I actually didn't listen.
I'm sorry. I just had to put you on the spot there, Nikki. My bad. What are some of the most popular shows here at KUYI? We just heard from Deborah Baker and her monthly show, but there's a lot of other content, and you have a lot of other great local hosts too.
Yeah, so thanks to Mrs. Deborah Baker, we're able to promote literacy on the air for not just our youth, but the parents as well. And I could say our top 3 are actually our Coffee Talk programming, which highlights programs from around the community with their services. We also have our Res Rasta Rhythms on Thursday evenings, which is highly popular because Hopis love reggae. And our last one, and is the top one, is our Tatawi show in the morning. And Darian touched on it earlier, where we play nothing but Native American music from not just Hopi, but from all over. It could be from the Amazons, from New Mexico, just whatever songs we have are pretty much all over the place. And Mr. One and Only Weta does a great job of mixing those songs in together. So I'm sure you heard his playlist this morning, and yeah, he just likes to mix it up daily.
Thank you, Nikki, for joining us, and Darian as well. This has just been a wonderful conversation today, and we're not over here. We're not done. I'll be back here again tomorrow, broadcasting live, and just looking forward to this week spent here on the Hopi Nation. And with that, we are going to have to wrap up the show. We're out of time now. But I want to thank all the guests who joined us, of course, Dr. Carrie Nuva-Joseph, Deborah Baker, Darian Kutswatiwa, and Nikki Kumaintiwa. And she's giving me a thumbs up there, so I know I did okay. Thank you. I also want to thank the staff here at KUYI for all their help in making today's show possible. Of course, we mentioned Darian and Nikki, but also Josh Sekanima and Brennan Masaitiwa. And we'll be back again tomorrow with our regular feature, The Native Bookshelf, talking about 2 nonfiction accounts. The books are titled Sons of Gunshooter and Unsettling Territory. We'll be speaking with the authors of those books as well. So until then, I'm your host, Sean Spruce. You've been listening to the one, the only Native America Calling, broadcasting live from the studios of KUYI Hopi Radio.
Support for law and justice-related programming provided by Hobbs, Strauss, Dean & Walker, LLP, a national law firm dedicated to promoting and defending tribal rights for over 40 years. More information available at hobbsstrauss.com. Support from Rodale, publisher of A Feather and a Fork, 125 Intertribal Dishes from an Indigenous Food Warrior by Crystal Wapipa with Amy Page Condon, and a foreword by Tommy Orange is now available for purchase wherever books are sold. Who protects Indian country? Amerind does. As the only 100% tribally owned insurance carrier, Amerind helps strengthen tribal communities by providing reliable insurance coverage and keeping dollars in Indian country. From property and liability to commercial auto and tribal workers' compensation, Amerind is here to protect what matters. Celebrating 40 years of serving Indian country. Learn more at amerind.com. That's AMERIND.com.
Native America Calling is produced in the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation, a Native nonprofit media organization. Funding is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with support from the Public Radio Satellite Service. Music is by Brent Michael Davids. Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.